If you've ever gone away and spent more time on your phone than with the people you love, or wondered whether you've built a business or just created a very demanding job, this episode is for you.
Today we're joined by Bev Flanagan, who talks honestly about trying to support her sister whilst on holiday in Turkey and realising that her business couldn't function without her. From control, burnout and constant interruptions to building a business that could run without her being chained to a desk. I'm Hayley Baxter.
I'm Phil Davenport, and this is the What One Thing podcast. One business owner, one story, and one lesson to take away in action for small businesses who'd like to grow.
Let's get started. Hi Bev, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So let's get straight to it. What was going on in your business that led up to the one thing you're going to talk about today?
So when I started my first business, which was way back, probably about 23 years ago now, I realised that I didn't do a lot of travelling. And travel is a big thing for me. I didn't do a lot of it when we were younger because I came from not a poor house. That sounds really bad. And I hope my mum and dad aren't listening because I did have a nice childhood, but we didn't have lots of disposable income to go traveling. So when I was an adult, I think that's one of the things that I wanted to do. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to be able to build a business where I could work from anywhere and however I wanted to. And it didn't quite work out like that right at the beginning. But once I'd sort of put systems and things in place and proper pricing and things, I was able to do that. So travel is a big thing about me that I like to do. Like for last year, for example, in 2025, I was in Caribbean and I was in Egypt 3 times. I was in Marrakesh twice. I went to Canada to speak on stages twice. So that for me, and I know travel's not the same for everybody. Everybody's one thing is different. But for me, traveling, seeing the world, doing different things, not just being in the same 4 walls all the time is a big thing for me. Like when you're on Facebook and you see a lot, or you're friends with a lot of people that you went to school with, even though you don't like them, but you're still friends with them on Facebook for whatever reason, you can see what they're doing and up to. And you can still see the same people stuck in the same place. They've never been anywhere. For me, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see as much of the world as possible. And that's the one thing for me that I wanted to do and to get out of my life and to experience all the different cultures and the different lifestyles and things like that. And ultimately, to be able to create that business that I could do that.
So tell us a little bit about what your normal day-to-day week was like before you were able to curate that life that you wanted.
As you know, I'm the same as you, Hayley. I'm an accountant and I've been forever. So my first business was an accountancy practice. And like now I do coach a lot of accountants and bookkeepers. And I always say, you've got to do what you've got to do. Like you have to do it. If you want to grow your business to whatever growth looks like for you, whether that's turnover, whether that's time freedom, whatever, you've got to do what you got to do in the beginning. So it is stressful. It is hard work. Things don't happen overnight. You've got to get the systems in place. And systems, even talking about systems on their own, I don't know about you, but I do have that shiny software syndrome. Well, I did in the past anyway, where, right, I've got software. I think this is going to be really good for my business. It's going to give me that time freedom back. Everything's going to be automated. Look, there's another one just come out. Oh, and everyone's using it. So I don't want FOMO. I'm going to start using that one. And then before you know it, you've got 25 different softwares that probably they all do the same thing anyway. So that was what it was like in the beginning, because I didn't really have a coach or somebody to help me. I've never been in business before. Being an accountant, worked in industry. I'd worked for companies like the Daily Mail and Royal and Sun Alliance. Knew how to do accounts, obviously, but running a business is totally different. So that stress, that was the stressful side of it. Not winging it, but maybe a little element of winging it, but just being able to know, am I doing things right? Is this the right software? Am I pricing properly? Do you know what I mean? So that's the bit of it that was quite hard at the beginning. I say at the beginning, for the first few years, to be honest.
What was the one key driver? So you want to go on holiday, you want to have lovely trips away. We like that. What was actually preventing you? Was it just head fluff that you thought you couldn't go away? Or had you had instances where you'd gone away and it hadn't been successful?
So it was one of the moments was I was in Turkey with my sister. She was actually having surgery at the time. Another subject, another story for another day. And I just couldn't be there with her. Well, I was there with her, but not literally there with her, if you know what I mean, in a brain capacity, because I was just constantly getting messages, emails. I'd just taken on 2 virtual finance director clients, which is good because they were my ideal clients, but they wanted everything all in one go. And it was just like, and I thought, right, this can't happen anymore. I've got to change things. So that was the moment that something clicked in my head that says, right, there's no way I can't just go off for a few days and the business not run without me, because I'm quite a bit of a control freak as well. So I still am, but I've not got the mindset anymore. Mindset is everything, by the way. And we could literally do a 3-day course on mindset. I love anything to do with mindset. But if you have the mindset that there's only you that can do everything in your business, you're not, and if you want to grow, you're never going to be able to do it. Because if you think that people can't do it to the same level, to the same strength as you, to the same quality as you, you're just going to suffer, because we've all got 168 hours a week. That's something that we can't get back or buy more of or anything. So if you're doing all the day-to-day stuff yourself and trying to grow your business, it just doesn't work. And I think that I also tried to do that at the beginning. Maybe it's because I'm from Yorkshire and I'm a bit tight, and that I didn't want to like pay to hire people or stuff. But once I started to do that, the hiring and the outsourcing and then getting the systems and trusting other people to do stuff that I was doing, and even to the point where I was hiring people that were better than me at stuff, it messes with your head at first thinking, right, okay, they are better than me, but that's a good thing, because we've all got our own strengths, right? So I want to get somebody else that can help me with socials. I want to get somebody else that can do, I don't know, the admin side of things. It's stuff that I don't want to do, or I have to do it, but it shouldn't necessarily be me that does it. So the mindset shift is huge. But just going back to what you said, Phil, as well, the love of travel. Yes, I do go on holiday a lot, but I also travel for work. That's the beauty of it. I love to be able to say that I can go anywhere to work. So next month I'm going to Marrakesh. I'm not going to chill, although there will be some element of that, but I'm going to work from there as well. And that's the beauty of it, because I've created that business that I'm able to do that, rather than to be chained to a desk somewhere.
Mindful that there's 2 accountants on the call.
Yeah, be careful what you say.
Our listeners, there's always a nice conference in Vegas on pretty much every topic. But going back, Bev, where we were, you're on holiday with your sister in Turkey. You're trying to support her. All of these problems, phone calls, maybe not even problems, but just constant multitude of tasks is hitting you. What was the moment where you realised, I've got to change? And then what was your plan around that?
Just like I mentioned before, the fact that you were just getting bombarded with stuff, and because I'd set the business up, and at that point I did have a team around me, but I'd not set it up properly, as in the fact that I didn't communicate with my clients that they can contact the other people about certain things. So everybody just thought it was me, and it wasn't just me. I did have a team around me. So that's the moment it's like, hold on a minute, they can do that. Sarah can do that. Joan can do that, whatever, So I made those names up, by the way, but I did have a team. But that's when I did it. I thought, something's got to give here. It's either me, as in I'm going to break down here in a minute and I'm just going to lose my business or quit it, because I know we've all got to that stage previously in our businesses where like, this is too much. I don't want to do this anymore. Or you think to yourself, do you know what? This is a good business. I do have good clients. I've just created a job, not an asset, because they think it's just me and I've not trained them properly, as in, this is when we need your paperwork by. This is the method we need it by. This is when I'm not going to be available. That wasn't set up in the beginning. So I just sort of become, if you like, mates with the clients. I know you can also be friends with your clients, but there's got to be a point where they understand that this is, I always say, this is the rules of your game. The rules of our game are these, but I've not set those up in the beginning. So that's when it clicks. And that's when I thought, right, I need some structure in the business now. It's a grown-up business now. I've got lots of good clients. They pay me okay. I need to put some structure in place. Otherwise, it's just going to be chaos. And that's when it became that chaos. So it was like, right, this is the turning point.
And so you referred to mindset earlier on in some of the things that you were talking about. And that is a big part of everything. Did you do any work on that at that point, or did you reach the point where you knew something had to change and you worked on the back office bit, or you like just go through the process of what you did, the actual steps?
Yeah, so I started then I would say that I always have tried to do a lot of personal development, but only sporadically, as and when. It wasn't structured, again, like I've just mentioned before about the other types of systems and procedures internally. So I started investing in myself. So I invested in a coach. I invested in time in my diary to be able to have me time, because I don't know if you two are the same at being business owners, but I always felt guilty about putting time in my diary. Like, I know I don't work the typical 9 to 5 because that's the business I've created, but if we just say 9 to 5, because everybody knows that that's the UK hours, isn't it? But I always felt guilty about putting something in my diary during Monday to Friday 9 till 5 doing something to work on me because it's not fee generating, but in the long run it is. So I started to do things like that. I started to go to networking events. I started to go to seminars, online and offline. I started to listen to YouTube. YouTube was a big thing for me. Obviously it's free. And I'm quite a bit of a fired up person now. And you know, like the American ones, the motivational speaker ones, and they're just like, I honestly used to listen to them every single morning when I was getting ready, putting my makeup on, and that fired me up for the day. And that motivation, listening to somebody else motivate. Do you know, like where people say that, like, you know, whatever your mood is, you're going to offset that against other people. So if you're in a negative mood, people are going to see that and it's going to affect them. Like if you're at home, family, friends, suppliers, whatever. So I thought to myself from then, right, I need to put myself in this positive mindset. Things always happen for a reason. This is good. And I started to reframe my mindset. And I noticed a huge point from when I started to do that everything then changed. I was more able to calmly sit down and, you know, look at the systems and procedures and plan for the future, be a bit better with my team members, be better with the clients, because I was better in myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And it's really weird how people think that some people are just born happy or they have a cheery disposition or whatever.
Yeah.
But what people don't realise is that that's an actual choice, that you choose to be like that, because we could all get up in the morning and be like, oh, you know, I'm not feeling it today or whatever, or can't be bothered, or isn't life rubbish and all of that. But actually, no, if you get up and I put music on in the morning, that always makes me like, oh, ready to go.
Yeah.
Just introduced Song of the Day at Corbar
Accounting.
Yes.
That's good. So, what's today's then? Well,
we haven't done today's yet, actually, because we've all just been a bit head down, so failed at the
I'll give you one. Can we have Robbie Williams, Let Me Entertain You, for today?
Oh gosh, I knew it would be Robbie Williams.
But you are right though. And like I'm not saying that I'm literally a happy, positive person all the time, because I'm a human being at the end of the day. But when you're running a business, you can't dwell on the negative things, especially us as an accountant. I don't know if you get it, Phil, in your business, but we've constantly got deadlines in our businesses. Our clients always think that they're more important than everybody else and that their urgency is our urgency and all stuff like that. But we've just got to know, like, we'll get emails that might seem that it's a bit negative, but it's not, because it's just how people type things out differently to saying it out loud. Like, one thing could make you really have a really crappy day or a crappy week, but it's knowing how to flip that negative mindset, that fixed mindset, into a positive growth mindset as quickly as possible to move on and not let it linger and to affect everything else and everybody else around you. But there's so many free things out there, though. I think the key thing is not to be on your own.
It's interesting. I was listening to 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐞's podcast the other day, and he was talking about the first sales office that he walked into, and the manager came in and said, "Come on, how many cars are we going to sell? Let's go." What would you recommend, Bev, as the YouTube playlist? What will you? I know I like to listen to a few podcasts when I'm ironing my shirt in the morning, but what would you pick out as the morning routine?
Oh, do you know what? There's one, and I literally can't remember what that is now. What is it? I'm just looking on my phone to see if I can find it. There's one guy. If I can't remember it, I will give you the name later, and you can add it to your podcast. But and he's an American guy, and he is very. And I know everybody's different, and some people might not like that. But there's one sentence that he says right at the beginning is, "You should feel lucky and grateful to start this wonderful day, because somebody else didn't wake up." And that hits me every time I hear that. I think, do you know what? Yeah, that's right. I know it's a bit deep, that, but it's right. Yeah, we're here. We've got another day. Let's make the best it can be. But with morning routines, I don't really have one other than sort of that. I mean, you hear a lot of these so-called gurus, don't they, saying they do morning routines, they do the deep work and they do the yoga and all stuff like that. I don't do stuff like that. As long as I'm in a proper mindset, set me up for the day, I'm happy. But one thing I do though is I do the day before for the following day. So I use Notion a lot. Love Notion. It's like the best thing ever for me. So I already know what I'm going to be doing for the next day, so it doesn't stress me out. The amount of people that wake up and think, oh my God, I've got so many deadlines and I don't know what to do first. That's when your mindset plays tricks on you. And that's when you'll procrastinate and think, shit, I don't know what to do first. And then you'll sit for like 3 hours wondering what to do first. And then before you know it, the day's gone and you've not done anything. So I always plan ahead of what I'm going to do. I know that's going on to another subject, but it's sort of to do with like morning routine.
I love that. So you've gone on holiday to Turkey to support your sister. You've found that there's just too much inbound traffic. You can't handle this. You've taken too much of the responsibility of the business on yourself. You need to make changes. You start listening to, and I may regret this comment, crazy Americans kind of with a bit of rousing music. Is it at that point that you buy Notion and start planning? Or how would you explain to Bev 15 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever it was, what would the 5 steps be that you'd say, Bev, this is how we can change this system. This is how you can free yourself from the business and have that dream life you always wanted, Bev. Come on, let's be grateful.
Yeah, let's do it. So yeah, the first thing is you've got to know what you want. That's step one. Like, there's so many people that, like I said before, have created a job, not an asset, and they're just literally, it's as if they might as well be working for somebody else. They just do it, turning the wheel every single day. They're not getting anywhere really. They're just firefighting. So the first step is to sit down with yourself, go and take yourself on a coffee date somewhere or whatever, and do a plan. What do you want from this? It might mean that your business is not right for you right now, because that's where I got to. Is this worth it moving forward? But I'm like, yes, it is. I love doing what I do. I just need to be organised more. So I think step one is to get a plan. And I'm not talking about the next 30 days. I'm talking about the next few years, the next 5-10 years. Where do you want to get this to? And I knew that I wanted to eventually sell the business. So I knew I needed to get it into that asset state and my mindset into the asset state, and to know that I'm getting as much money as possible for it when the time came to sell. Step 2 is that positive mindset, because that stems everything. If you're negative, nothing's going to move forward. So you've got to get into that positive mindset. So start to do the things, like I said, like whatever's right for you. I'm not going to tell your listeners that what I do is right for everybody, because everyone's different. But for me, it was listening to and digesting all that positive content, the webinars, the podcasts, going to the events online and offline, like I said, and just making sure that you're surrounded by different people. Also, like in your industry as well, I went to a lot of events with accountants. And prior to that, I was when I had a bit of a negative mindset, it was like, right, I'm not going to go and liaise with other accountants because they're going to pinch me clients, they're going to copy what I do, blah, blah, blah. What a stupid idiot I were to think that in the beginning. Absolutely crazy. So,
oh, is it? Sorry, terrible.
So, what's my question? Sorry. So, my question is, you obviously did get your business to that point and exit the business, and your business now is coaching and speaking and doing all what sounds like very glamorous things. I suppose that's how I always think about it. My question is just to give hope to all the accountancy practice owners out there, or people with service-based businesses that service clients, because that's what it is really. Did you get to the point with that where you could do the travel that you wanted to do and the business still function without you? Or has that only really been fulfilled since you've moved into more of your coaching based business?
No, it happened whilst I was an accountant. Well, I had my firm as well. So I got up to, I think, 7 members of staff. When I sold, that had been reduced significantly because I did that structure a lot around that. But no, I could still go away and work from wherever I wanted to, because at that point I was 100% in the cloud. Everything was systemized, everything was synchronizing and talking to each other. Some of the softwares that I used at the time are no longer in place because my practice management was Centre, that was owned by Iris, and that's no longer there. But obviously now there's other softwares out there that do very much the same. But no, the systems, it took me a while, and I invested heavily in that, not only in money but in time, because I knew that absolutely needed to work so that anybody could just pick it up and run with it. And when I did sell my business, the company that acquired me, it was literally like, it was the 31st of July that I sold. It was literally like, it was my business on the 31st of July. Somebody picked it up, and on the 1st of August, it was somebody else's. So everything was still running the same. The clients were absolutely fine. You know, they used all the systems and softwares that I use. So it was an easy transition. It's just that one day it was owned by me, the next day it was owned by somebody else. So that's how it needed to be, because obviously we don't want clients to leave, etc., etc. No, I managed that prior to selling, and now that's what it's like now, obviously. Like I said, I do a lot of things. I do the coaching and the mentoring, I do speaking, which I'm really proud to say that now it's international. Like I said at the beginning, I went to Canada last year. That was one of my goals last year, and I made that happen, so that's good. I do retreats and stuff as well. So and I also do have an accounting practice, but it's very small at the minute. It's clients that I still had previously with agreements with the buyer, and I work very closely with a lot of accountants and help them out as well. But I love what I do. I love it. It's in the always say, don't they, if you love your job, it's not a job, is it really?
Yeah.
You love what you do.
Yeah, it's very, very true.
It's rewarding.
It is rewarding. So before we go to the final piece then, you've shared a really good steps that people can take to begin the journey. What's the one thing, like, because sometimes having 20 steps to do something is a bit overwhelming for people. So if people can just start working on one thing today, what's
plan?
Okay.
What do you actually want? And it's not what other people want you to do. It's not what you think your peers are doing and what somebody else is doing. What do you actually want in the future for yourself and for your business? Because if you don't know that, you'll just be wandering around aimlessly for years. So literally sit down with yourself, like I said, and plan. What do you want your business to look like? Do you want to grow it? What's your turnover goals? What's your time freedom goals? If you are selling it, are you selling it as a whole? Are you selling it as a block of fees for accountancy, obviously? And if you are selling it, what do you want that end figure to look like? Because then once we've done that, we can reverse engineer it. And then at that point, we can set that big, massive goal that looks unachievable right now, but it is actually achievable. We can then break it down into the little chunks, and we can then plan doing 90-day plans like we do, Hayley. We do the 90-day plans, don't we? And then things happen. So then to get from here to there, we have to do these little incremental steps. But we can't do the incremental steps unless we know what we want ultimately. So that is the first thing. What do you actually want? And do you know what? I think sometimes people don't know the answer to that because they just get straight into business. They get clients. We're straight in. We're doing the work. We're doing the do. And then they're not looking ahead into the future. But we need to. We need to plan for our future. So what does that look like for you?
I think that has highlighted a few kind of major, and this is almost the somewhat trauma of most small business owners, isn't it? Try to go on holiday, find that there's too many jobs, want to put systemization in place. Most people then get stuck in a loop at that point because they try and implement systems, but the staff aren't on board with them, and they're buying new shiny objects, and so the next time they go on holiday, the same problem. I think it's fantastic. The 5 to 10 year plan, I think for me personally, is quite overwhelming and almost fits in then to you push the ego aside and either find a peer group and go through it as a team, or find a coach who's going to drill those answers, because it is overwhelming to think, where am I going to be in 10 years time? Am I even going to be waking up in 10 years time just because I'm a little bit morbid? So I really like that. I think the find a coach, find a mentor, push the ego aside really fits in as well, Bev, because if people have enjoyed listening to you, if they've thought, you know what, I think that's phenomenal, who is your ideal client and what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So my ideal client is any accountant or bookkeeper that they've either just started and they've not got no bad habits yet, because we do get bad habits, or the majority of my clients are they've been trading a few years, they're doing okay, they've got the turnover coming in, they might have got staff, they might be outsourcing, or they might be just on the verge of that, but they're just a bit stuck. They just need to get to that next level, but they don't know what that next level is, and they just can't see the wood for the trees type thing. So they just need that helping hand just to push through and see how they can get to that next level and feel like they are on that trajectory to getting to that goal that they want to get to.
And if somebody is lay on the beach right now and the mobile's gone off 3 times with customers phoning them, and they can see their family splashing about in the pool, or they've got their friends drinking sangria, and they're thinking, oh my God, I 100% relate to Bev's story. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
So I'm on all the social channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. But if you want to email me, it's bev@bevflanagan.com. I've got a website as well on there where you can book a discovery call as well.
And we will put all the links into the description. Thank you very much for joining us, Bev.
It's been brilliant. Can we do it again? Because I've got so much more I want to say.
So, Bev, what an incredible lady who's got an incredible story. And actually a story that many people actually aspire to get to. What was your biggest takeaway?
I think the real inspiration behind that story was how relatable that start was. I think every business owner I've spoken to at some point has tried to sneak some time with the family or tried to take a short holiday and found themselves bombarded. And I think Bev's story was inspirational because it sounded really easy to follow. The way she spoke about it and the way she talked through the 5 points sounded like something that we all could literally take away and think, yeah, I can aspire to do that. What was your big takeaway, Hayley?
I think the thing that I took away most from it was that she actually managed to get to that point whilst running a service-based business that is very demanding. And I think we both know that because that's what we do. Again, I'm not going to speak for you, but I think sometimes that feeling that actually I could go and work in wherever for 4 weeks and with limited touch points with the team and the business and the clients, that like today, that just feels very, very scary and very far away. Like that just wouldn't happen. So I think it's incredible that she managed to get to that point whilst in that business. And it just goes to show what's possible. I think that was my biggest takeaway. But I also think the thing that sort of stuck with me, or the thing that I just wanted to, I suppose, share a bit more, it goes back to that thing. So Bev's thing right at the end was, where do you start with it? Well, you start with the plan, because you need to know where you need to get to. And again, we have talked about this a bit on and off in different environments, but I still find it really difficult that that's what people always start with. But how do you know? Like I find it's just really, really hard to really know that. And I know that, like, sometimes I just switch off. People say that and I'm just like, well, I don't know. I just can't. I've just got to run this business like this. I don't know what I want. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
I always thought that I just couldn't be bothered to build a plan. And I always thought that the way that I'd had success throughout my life was by getting up in the morning and going through a relatively scheduled routine of self-improvement and business improvement. It was just doing that every day just meant that it would build and build and build, and the momentum would allow me to achieve success, goals, whatever we like to hear. Now I realised that actually I was being overwhelmed by trying to plan 5-10 years, and that my ego was stepping in the way of me going to a peer group or getting a business coach or hiring somebody to help me with it, because I was confusing something I didn't want to do and something I thought was boring with something that was actually really important but overwhelming. And I think when Bev said, I did a 5-year plan and I wrote down what I want, I thought that was the point I was probably stuck at for maybe 2-3 years.
Yeah. And no one ever talks about that. No one, all of the people that like Bev did today, and I mean, I absolutely have, Bev's a great person. She's done so much, and she shares so much of her knowledge and journey and experience with others, but nobody ever talks about the bit, what do you do if you don't know? And it does stop you. I think you summed that up really well, because I think you can stall at it, because you're just like, well, if I don't know what I want, how do I do it then? What do you think the answer is to that?
I think what was really, really brilliant about Bev was her list was almost upside down to what I thought would take me to success. So I'm just looking at, so it's plan 5 to 10 years, step 1. Positive mindset work, step 2. Power of peers, step 3. Get a coach or mentor, step 4. And that kind of fed into 3. And then look at set systems, procedures, and create standard operating procedures. Whereas I think the majority of us who feel in the same boat that we do, that have the overwhelm of getting a 5-10 year plan, we start with look at systems, procedures, create standard operating procedures. We get a bit lost in the muck, probably because we haven't got that long-term goal. And we're just trying to say to our staff, God damn right, some systems, procedures. We need these standard operating procedures. Why? Well, because we do. And then our ego stands in the way of us getting a coach or mentor, because we don't quite know what we want to be coached or mentored on. We don't want to join a peer group because we don't really want to speak to other people in our industry. And obviously I do now, and all IT people are lovely. And if you ever meet me at a conference, we're all lovely. And then the positive mindset work of YouTube audio books, we probably do a little bit of that, but in and out. And then the last thing that we do once we've almost built our business is plan the 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything 100% that you've just said there. And I actually think that the answer to the question that I was asking is that if you don't know where you want to be, doing that process in reverse order is a great thing to do, because actually you still, whatever happens in your business or whatever you decide you want your future to look like, whether that is that you want to sell your business, you want someone else to come in and run it so you can go and sit on a beach for 6 months and not care about anything, I don't know, you want to run it forever, whatever those options look like, actually having systems and processes in place and working with peer groups and mentors and so on, all of that is only going to end you in a good place. It's never going to be wasted or a bad thing to have done. And I think sometimes you have to go through that process to then know what you want. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think I'll agree slightly and I'll disagree slightly. I think maybe once you've tried that process 3 times, you realise that you need to find out what you actually want as your goal, or you realise that you need that power of peer or that power of coach to help you through. I think the quicker you can realise that, the quicker you can really scale your business, and that's maybe a little bit of the secret sauce. And
yeah, I think that's where it feels like it all comes together, because you're doing all the work, you've got all the support, and you know what you want. Whereas I suppose if you're doing the work and you've got the support but you don't know what you want, there's still a missing piece in that puzzle, which is probably why it doesn't feel like it comes together.
yeah, I love that. I think you're completely right with getting that support behind you, because that support is going to drive you towards the other piece as well, aside from the positive mindset work, which is something that you can only do yourself, I think.
Yeah, and I think that work is for anybody, whether you've got a business, whether you've got a job, whether you don't have a job. I think the power of the mind is massively under. Well, we just any, like, as humans, we spend all this time like learning all this stuff about, I don't know, IT or accounts or whatever you do. You learn things about your family, the way your body works and all of that, but the mind is just like this thing that you never spend any time on it. You never, or lots of people don't really invest in understanding what's good for it. But I totally agree with what Bev said, that it absolutely, like, it makes such a difference to everything. And I don't know, it's just massively underrated. The other thing, I was just going to say something else, but it's totally gone what it was.
I think the other piece of the mind is self-realization. I think it's so tricky to understand how other people view us compared to how we view ourselves, and to go through that system of coaching or whatever you want to do, and to present to somebody the situations that you've had or the issues that you've encountered, whether it be with employers, suppliers, customers, whoever it is, and get that second perspective from somebody, either from a peer group or somebody who coaches you, and suddenly realize, oh, okay, that was how they were thinking, because I thought everybody was the same as me and they were thinking the same way I do.
Yeah, I think though that it's really hard to find people that will be honest with you though with that, and that really know you as well, because they only, people often only know you from one perspective. They don't know you wholly. I don't know if that's the right word. And also, I think people don't, if you went down that road, like, I think I always wonder, are they really telling me the truth? Or are they really being honest with that feedback? Or are they really being honest with what they're saying about that? Because people don't want to offend people or upset people, or they don't feel comfortable sharing things in that way. So I think I probably have a little bit of a mindset issue around that. Maybe that's what we're realising today.
I think, and I'm conscious that we need to wrap up. I think some of that is, and I think you do this really well, is being so open and transparent in network groups, in peer groups, and I think you find your peers from that. I think there are a group of people who don't want to open up, who don't really want to give you truthful feedback. However, I think the more open and honest you are and the more transparent you are, the more you gravitate towards your group of people, whatever you'd like to call it, and the more it becomes evident who's there to help you and who you can support and can support you back.
Yeah, that's true. And the other thing to say in all of this, I think that's important to remember, is that the plan can change. So you have a plan, you work towards it. Nobody knows what the future holds, and it's not written in, you can change the plan, which I think sometimes holds us back as well, because we don't think we can, but you absolutely can. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of What One Thing. We hope you found one thing to help move your business forward.
And if you did, please do us a favour and share this episode with someone else who's on the same journey. We'll see you next time on What One Thing.